Black cisgender heterosexual identified men are killing Black trans women. Black ones.
We are not talking about it in the church.
Those street guys are already engineers. If they're mixing drugs and stuff together, they're chemical engineers.
If you're just like, yeah, let's kill 50 cops just because, you know, that's only a fraction of the Black people that they killed. Wait, now you're talking about my wife.
For those of you who are joining in, we are talking about just the housing in the Black community and owning property, why it's important, and how to get yourself in there.
When I think of financial literacy, I just don't think of the classroom work. I think some of it is practical application.
I'm scared, especially, you know, calling them to arms, talking about poll workers or poll watchers. That is rooted in history of voter suppression and intimidation.
Joe Biden needs to make that a part of his educational platform.
Call that shit out.
I don't see much value in you speaking in tongues, and yet when you speak in English, you don't say nothing for my people.
Many of the reasons why we're dying is because of the conditions we live under that cause our health to be so bad, and that cause it's the food, it's the water, it's clean that shit up first.
When their fathers had prostate cancer, I had like a 150% chance of getting cancer, being diagnosed with cancer. I had a friend that did a raw vegan diet, 20 years remission, had thyroid cancer, never had surgery. I'm like, that's what I'm doing.
This week in Black People Shit, current events and hot topics, I am your host, Christy Ferris. As the George Floyd murder trial comes to an end and Derek Chauvin awaits sentencing, many people are wondering, was justice really served? Or was it just a political maneuvering to prevent the country from going into an all-right riot? With me today, we have a special guest that's going to be joining us. Let's see, he is an author and motivational speaker, Ty Allen Jackson. And then, of course, we have Abdul Majid in the house. Come on in. Hey, nothing. How you doing? How you doing? We're going to go ahead and bring Ty in as well. Hey. Going in and out. How you doing, Ty?
Am I in? I can't tell.
You are.
Screen.
Yeah, you're here.
Yes.
I am. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, welcome to the show.
I'm just putting that out there. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. So you can't see us. Could you see us earlier?
I cannot. No, actually, I haven't seen you since the show started. What I do see is me in my collegiate garb. That's the only thing I see on the screen right now.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. All right.
But I can hear you. But I can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll just keep it pushing. So we'll keep it going. So just so you guys know, we have an author, motivational speaker in that's speaking. Janora has some auditions. She is working. You know, she is a working actress. So she might be able to. Would you? Oh, you so silly. So she might be able to join us a little bit later, or we will see. And if she can't, then of course we're gonna hold it down. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, because the more eyes we have on it, the better. So let's jump into the very first thing that we have on our list and our hot topics, which is the Derek Chauvin trial. Derek Chauvin, the cop who killed George Floyd, was found guilty on all 3 charges. Sentencing will happen in about 8 weeks. Abdul, what are your thoughts about all of this?
Well, I'm not as happy as a lot of people have been around the world, or around the United States specifically Black people. I don't know if justice was equally served. I think we're on the path to it because he hasn't been sentenced yet. Sentencing is the big part. He could get a slap on the wrist for all we know, even though one of the charges, I believe the 2nd degree homicide charge, had like up to 40 years in jail. But I am patiently waiting. I don't want to sit here and jump around in the circle and behave like something really good happened. Because the other part is that we damn near had to burn the country down just to get this one thing. and the extremes that Black people have to go to in order to get justice is probably the most frustrating thing for me in this whole ordeal. The fact that in the time that George Floyd was murdered, there's been like 3 or 4 or 5 or however many other people who were murdered under the same conditions. There's a woman who was shot, during the verdict was being, a young lady who, while the verdict was being announced. A child. So I mean, on the one side, it's like OJ all over again. It feels like OJ all over again. That the sentiment that people were so happy just to get this amount of justice. In this turn, it was, properly served in this time as opposed to the OJ sentence. But it's just like we're hooping and hollering and yelling and dancing in the streets and crying for something that should be so simple. And to me, that's extremely frustrating. And I can't look beyond that. I'm thankful that justice was served, but I don't feel anything other than that, if that makes any sense.
It does. So Ty, before we get started, let me just thank you, Tori, for joining us today. Scott, we appreciate you being here. Tangerine in the house. Tangerine said, I can see Ty sitting next to his books and a dope step and repeat. Read or else.
All right.
So, yeah. So Ty, what are your thoughts about what happened yesterday and the whole verdict?
Well, first of all, I so am grateful for the opportunity to hang out with you all. What a great show. This is awesome. And like, if that's not the best name in talk right now, yes, I can't say the whole thing because as a children's book author, I do have a, certain mystique and persona I have to adhere to. But, I'm with Abdullah. I'm mad skeptical right now about everything that it is going on. I refuse to give the benefit of the doubt of a country that has suppressed us and had its proverbial knee on our neck for 400 years. I think they're willing to sacrifice one of their own, but I don't foresee any substantial change coming about. And until if I just could put this out there, because I just think this is really important. Until we as a people, we have to stop looking for white officials to galvanize and fight for us. We've got to do a better job of fighting for ourselves. Black power and the black dollar is the most powerful dollar in the country. And until we take a stand and we start really wielding the power that it is that we possess, we're going to continue to have these things happen. So I don't foresee after 400 years that they're all of a sudden going to flip a switch and treat us with the love and honors and respect that we deserve. It's our opportunity to take it. And the best way that we can take it is to galvanize together, use our dollars and our voice, and wield that power to make this country succumb and come to its knees, because we can do that, but we have to do it together.
But I think the problem with that, though, is that so many of us are for sale. We have so many of us who are uber capitalists, who are vicious capitalists.
But not all of us.
No, I didn't say so. I said so many of us, especially those in high power positions who don't speak truth to power because they get a check, or those who do things to subvert or to make us, our community, look bad for $1. Like they run a narrative for money.
I have an actual real simple solution is if our young Black brothers and sisters just simply started going to HBCUs, and especially those that are collegiate athletes, and we started giving our money and our time and our effort and our love to the Morehouses and the Howards and the Spelmans instead of the North Carolinas, the Dukes and the whatever, I guarantee you that things would change. We wield so much power, especially in that field. I think just in that narrative, we could make a big change.
Go ahead, Abdul. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, but do you think that, because I agree with you 100%. I made that statement a while back that I do think that all of our top, not just athletes, those in education should go to HBCUs because what it does is it funds not just the college, but the community around it, like they do in Alabama and Auburn and what have you. But I think the pushback is, are you asking those kids to suffer or to to not take the advantage that they have. Like, you know, and for athletics specifically, if you're a poor Black person in a Black neighborhood and a college gets X amount of eyes on you to be able to play your sport and to get drafted, and then there's another school that doesn't get the same amount of eyes and the same amount of attention, are you asking him to forego a certain level in order for the greater good? I don't know.
When an NFL scout goes to get a wide receiver, they go to see the player, not the school. They're going to see the player. If that player is at Morehouse, they're going to go to Morehouse. If that player is at Duke, they'll go to Duke. But I don't think we're asking them to sacrifice anything than taking their talents and going somewhere and then having the scouts follow them. If LeBron James decided to go to school and went to an HBCU, then every team in the NBA would go to that HBCU and try to recruit him. It's about the player. It's not about the school.
It is about the player, but you and I both know it. And I want Christy to jump in there because we've been like going back and forth. It's also the level of competition. And I don't think that Prairie View or Hampton or Norfolk or what have you have the accommodations for one. Because look at everything that Deion Sanders had to do at Jackson State just to make them competitive. He had to get donors. He had to get a new stadium. He had to get new uniforms. He had to get his own two sons to leave the D1 school that they were at to go to his school. He had to rally the town. He had to be Deion Sanders to do this. Now think about that.
Well, then it can't be one. That's my point is that it can't be one player. My point is that that's where the galvanization takes place.
No,
that's where it has to be a collective. Like it can't be 1, 10, 20 players. It has to be hundreds, thousands of players to be able to do that. And
if they had a whole bunch of different, if they had, a whole team that was phenomenal and all of them went there, then they probably would possibly get more funding, more scholarships, better equipment, better blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But who, I don't know if I would want, a kid to make that sacrifice on his own if everybody's not going to do it collectively and he ends up, sacrificing his career and his dream in order to go pro, just to make a point at the very beginning. Now, I'm not saying that, because I obviously agree with all of you, but we do think about like the Eartha Kitt and all those people that made all those sacrifices back in those days and got blacklisted, who didn't get a chance to work. Yeah, Paul Robeson, all those different things. And we do have to do it collectively. And like you said, our money plays a big, huge part if we all do it together. I want to jump back to Tangerine. Well, let me go to Monique. We said we need to look at this for exactly what this is. Derek Chauvin is accountability, not justice. Justice is when legislation happens to change to allow equality. Equality. We need to take our energy and change legislation. Agree. And then Tangerine said, 16-year-old, I think it's Micaiah, was killed by police the same day. And Andrew Brown was shot by police this morning. In North Carolina. So I did not see the one that's in North Carolina, but the Micaiah situation, 16-year-old Black girl, fatally shot by an officer outside of her home. She called the police to get help because some young girls were attacking her. As soon as the cop got there, as soon as he saw her with a knife, she did have a knife, and maybe he saved the other girl's life because, maybe the girl could have killed her. But at the end of the day, we have seen so many times where white people have cops come to assess the situation. And you don't see these people who have guns in their hand, white people who have guns in their hand or knives in their hand, getting shot. But he shot her 4 times. And it took a couple of minutes before they even went over there to do CPR or anything like that. So I'm just curious, what's your thought on that, Ty? Did you get a chance to see all of that happened? This was in Columbus, Ohio.
I don't have the full picture, but I agree with you 100%. Police have to stop having a shoot first and ask questions later mentality. What's the purpose of the training if you're not going to use it? What's the purpose of the training if as soon as you get out the car, all you're going to do is start shooting? The fact that you have a taser, like what's the point of having the taser if you're not going to utilize it to subdue whoever this is? And why does shooting to kill have to be the first option? Obviously, if they have a knife and you're at a distance, a shot in the leg can have the same effect and put the person down. So there are so many questions and so many options, but when it comes to policing in America, especially when it targets a Black person, it's shoot first and get acquitted later. And so, and I think as long as that's, the protocol, these things are going to continue to happen. Agree. How about you, Abdul?
I think it's just for Black people. I don't think it happens to any, because I remember, in Wisconsin, Kenosha, not too long ago, Kyle Rittenhouse, she killed 2 people, and he had a gun, and the police drove right by him. He went home, and because of the uproar, they went to Illinois to get him the next day. A white person with an assault rifle, a white person with a pistol, a white person shooting up mass shootings in churches and movie theaters and schools, at children in New Jersey, at Hope, whatever place in New Jersey, New Hope, New Jersey, whatever. I mean, they can collect them all alive. And those.
Oh, did we lose you? Did I lose you? Ty, you there? Okay, I can see you moving. Okay, we lost him. We'll wait for him to come back. Tangerine said police only use their does that say de-escalation training for white criminals. Reading is fundamental. This is why
Tangerine. That's a dope name, and I love the way it's spelled, Tangerine. By the way.
Oh yeah, she's so bad. And then Monica said, "So sad. I worry since Derek Chauvin's verdict came out, the police will retaliate even more." And Monica is actually, about 2 hours away from Columbus. We're both Ohioans. Our family's from Ohio, so I went from being happy to not happy but relieved.
Yeah.
To being so sad to see this young person killed, and now I'm just, I don't know what to say or what to think. I'm gonna jump to this Kim Potter, but Tim said there are 18,000 police departments in the U.S., all with their own standards and policies. The federal government needs to standardize training and policies coast to coast. So since we're on this whole subject of the police stuff, we also had Kimberly Potter, who shot Dante Wright, who mistakenly shot him with a gun instead of using the taser. But I thought it was very interesting that that they have fencing around her house, concrete barriers, 24-hour video surveillance. They're out there making sure that nothing happens to her house. They're spending a lot of money on that, and they're making sure that her house and everything is protected. What are your thoughts on that, Abdul?
I think yesterday and leading up to the trial, a lot of people, specifically white people, were scared because of the uproar of what was happening and the violence and the burnings and the lootings. And I think that it was just precautionary. One, because it was so close to the verdict, and two, because she was one of their own, that they're going to protect her. So, I think that was a major factor for the fencing around her house. People, and the police were there, and like it looked like a SWAT scene. It was as many people were there. So, I don't have faith in a lot of this stuff. If I'm being real honest with you, I don't have faith in a lot of this stuff. And I'm an optimistic person by nature. But the system is the way the system is, and to think that it's going to behave any different when they got us, but when they got us by the balls. They got us by the balls in many ways, and I think we need to do something, sort of like what Ty said, to galvanize our community and use our dollars to do something different, but it's going to take generations to get to that space unless we get like reparations, what I keep calling for. But
right.
yeah.
And, you know, and it's funny too, because if you think back, and I'm gonna jump to you, Ty, in a second, because I want to get your thoughts, but, you know, back in the day, I mean, people did take their money and use it. I mean, look what happened with that family in the Manhattan Beach that we talked about last week, where they were like, okay, we're going to take our dollars. We're going to create this space in Manhattan Beach for Black people. And they took it away from them, you know, and 100 years later, now you guys want to give it back to the family, and it's worth, you know, $72 million. But Ty, what are your thoughts, you know, just about that whole thing and Kimberly Potter and
Well, I think Abdul hit the nail on the head. You know, whether it's police or white, they're going to take care of their own, and they're going to protect them, and you know, and put a hedge around them as much literally and figuratively as they can. And it's unfortunate. I mean, and the fact that there isn't, or I'm not even sure if how much video footage there is of the incident, because I don't think the Chauvin thing would have really come to its conclusion if we didn't have that video evidence. So, you know, it's sad and it's unfortunate. I think that we're going to continue to have these situations. I mean, they've never stopped in 400 years. They're not going to stop now. It really is a matter of us, again, figuring out collectively, like, what systems that we have, what are the powers that we wield that we can utilize to make change, because the riotings and the picketings and the protestings, they haven't worked. They're not working. They're not going to work. And it's not until that we really do get together, utilize our dollars more than anything else. And that's why I think the collegiate thing really matters, because it directly impacts the pocketbooks of, you know, these cities and these states. And we have the power. We are the product. And until we galvanize and use our power, because we don't have political power, because we don't have economic power. So what power do we have? And we have power in that space. We can control where we go to school. We can control where it is that we play. So if we did that, that's the one thing they can't force us to do anything when it comes to that. And I'm not saying that's the panacea. I'm saying that's one of the dynamics. That's one of the bullets that we have in our gun to be able to use to create change.
I love it. I love it. Look at this. I added BPS person, our special BPS person in here, just dropping knowledge up in here. I want to briefly say this one real quick. I don't know if you guys get a chance to see, and you know, this whole thing, Black people shit, it's always, or BPS for people who are not allowed to say the shit word. But
I can say shit, by the way. It's cool.
Yeah, well, you know, but no, because, you know, you're working with kids and we're trying to, you know, show them.
Well, hopefully they're being put to bed. They're not watching this show. Yeah.
Exactly. But we're here to make sure that you guys know what's going on in the world, especially if you're not paying attention of what's in social media. But if you guys didn't get a chance to see, there was a soldier that ended up pushing a Black man who was walking in their neighborhood. And he said to him, "You are in the wrong neighborhood." It got recorded in South Carolina. And because this happened, a whole bunch of Black folks came to the rescue the next day and stood outside of this man's house and started protesting and using their bullhorns and everything. Because this did get recognized out there, and it hit social media really hard. His name is Jonathan Pentland. He's 42. He ended up getting charged. Oh, I'm getting feedback. I don't know. But anyway, he got charged with, what was it, Abdul? Was it like third degree?
Third degree aggravated assault, I believe it was.
Right. And because he is in the military, also, his supervisor looked into it. They're like, "Oh no, we're not standing for this." So I just want to say some great actions kind of happened from that. Does anybody have any comments that they want to add to that before we start jumping into Ty?
I'm happy that he got charged with a crime, but I don't know what the other thing did other than get attention, which was necessary for the charge. So, you know,
right.
It's one thing leading the other, but I mean,
yeah. Well, let's see what ends up happening, just so people can start seeing that they're actions are going to have consequences now. What about you, Ty?
You know, I'm this is going to sound odd, but I'm grateful for Trump. And I'm grateful that he's empowered so many of these races to come out of their hole and take off their hood and express exactly who it is that they are. It is easier to fight an adversary you can see than an adversary that you can't see. And he has made, so much of white America emboldened and allowed them to come out of their homes and spew out their racist rhetoric for cameras for millions of citizens to see. And I certainly don't wish for there to come harm to any of our brothers and sisters of any color, but I'm always glad when these people reveal themselves for who they are, and then they suffer the repercussions for their actions, especially as long as none of our people get hurt in the process. So what becomes of it, who knows? But that person will carry a stigma around for the rest of his life because of his racism. I'm sure there's very few places he'll be able to go to in this country and not be recognized for the racist lowlife that he is. So, hopefully more of these knuckleheads will come out and do the same and reveal their hatred and get treated accordingly.
Go ahead, Abdul.
In the long term, though, I don't know if they're to breathe in the long term. Like, look at Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's still making movies. And he was saying, hope you get raped by a pack of niggas. And now he said stuff about anti-Semitic stuff, and now he's back doing what he was doing, making the money he was making. I mean, how far can you push a community of people to be responsible for their behavior when they don't want to be responsible for behavior? You got two choices. You either deal with it or you don't. And the don't is the part that Black people have to think about. How much interaction do you want to have if the interactions that you continue to have ends up you either getting the short end of the stick of something violent happening to you? And I think that we're at a crossroads now where Black people are looking at our options and saying, do I want to continue to deal with the collective of people, whatever group that may be, not just because it's not just one, who I'm constantly being assaulted by.
And when you say not dealing with them, what do you mean by that?
I mean, Stevie Wonder decided to go back to Africa. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, the people now are trying to self-segregate. People now are really like, getting behind opening up different communities just for Black people, different schools just for Black people, different organizations just for Black people, and interacting when necessary. And it sucks. It really sucks because there's a lot of people who are multinational that I really care about. But the bigger, the grander scale, what the collective is doing doesn't represent what the individuals that I know believe. So then,
I really do hope that we can get through it. I mean, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who's 88 years old, white male, in the business, amazing guy, such a great guy, but he was just calling to check in on me. He was just like, I just want to make sure you're okay with everything that happened yesterday. I just want to make sure that you're okay. And that meant a lot, because, I was looking on people's social media. A lot of people, my friends who are non-Black, had nothing to say about the verdict yesterday. They were just posting, doing it, hey, I just got back from tennis. I was like, oh, wow. But then there are some people who really do care, and I'm gonna stick. I feel like I'm being Janora right now because she ain't here. I'm gonna stick to the love. I really believe that there are some people out there that I hope that make a difference. Tim said he'll probably lose his rank and be charged under several UCMJ. Have no idea what that means. Violations by the Army. Did we get to you, Ty? I think I went to you first, right? About that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I just want to like give a little point to what it is that you stated. I think that this is a marathon, not a sprint. I don't think that we're going to expect changes to happen overnight. We have more allies, and the fact that your point, Christy, is that you have allies that are checking in on you. We have more allies today than we did 10 years ago. We'll have more allies 10 years from now than we do today. You know, the shift and the change and shifting the narrative of, first of all, racism is never going away, but we're going to get more Black people in power. We're going to get more Black CEOs. We're going to get more Black government officials. And those things are going to take time. They're incremental and they're slow, but they are sure. And the more that we start to integrate people of color in positions of power, the more they'll be able to change. It may not happen this year, this decade, or maybe even this lifetime, but it will change. You're not going to get 400 or 500 years of segregation, suppression, and racism stopped overnight. And there's no pixie dust that we're going to sprinkle right now to make this go away. It's slow but sure. Power in our children, it's educating our children so that the children today become the lawyers and the attorneys and the governors and the presidents and CEOs tomorrow. And that's where the change is going to come.
Well, then that's great, because we're going to jump into what you do, which is you're educating the kids. I know, Abdul, look like you wanted to say something. Shantae says something. The past 1 to 2 years have been so ugly in the U.S. that I have asked myself if I can see myself living here forever. Yes, I've thought of Africa, the Caribbean, other alternatives. So with that being,
I'll just say, hold up real quick.
Yes, go ahead, because I'm about to jump in the tie.
Yeah, we'll get. I don't know if we have as many allies as you believe we do, because statistics, poll numbers, and the last several administrations have proven otherwise. And there's plenty of anecdotal stuff I can push out there, but based on the numbers and pollings and things like that, I don't think there's as many allies as we believe there is.
I don't disagree. My point is that I think we have more allies than we did 10 years ago. I'm not saying that there are a lot of allies. I'm saying that there's more. And I
get that point. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true either. I think we have less allies than 10 years ago.
Well, there's no way to prove that, so we can agree to disagree.
Well, there's polling and empirical evidence that says that the Black and white, technically, relationship has been strained and has gone the opposite way based on all the exit pollings and stuff from Pew and the Brookings Institute and so.
And are you saying that? And I do want to move on soon, but are you saying that because of the whole Trump thing in the last 4 years, whole thing, or are you saying even prior to that?
It's prior to that. It actually partially had to do with the bubble that busted under Clinton. And then from that trajectory started going worse because it's an economic thing. It leads down to more people have been in the white communities, the Appalachians, the Midwest, things of that nature. They've been losing jobs, they've been losing money, they've been losing housing, and they point a finger to those who have not been. So your adversary is the person who doesn't look like you when it becomes territorial. So it's been going in that trajectory when the economy has gone in a certain direction for a pretty long period of time, in terms of the rich getting richer, the poor getting bigger, the middle getting smaller, and those middle people are now bottom, and those bottom people are now fighting for scraps, and the people who get kicked to the side are the Blacks.
Gotcha. Well, see, Ty, you are not a regular on our show. So usually Abdul always drops these little knowledges that we all look at, and then Janora and him kind of do like this the whole entire time. So when Janora couldn't make it on the show, she was like, well, Ty could take my place, and I'm seeing that's where it is right now. So, but with that being said, thank you. Tim just dropped the knowledge to let us know. And then James, we appreciate you watching the show. But I want to introduce all of you guys to our guest. Ty Allen Jackson is an award-winning children's book author, literacy advocate, and captivating motivational speaker. In 2021, he founded Big Head Books, LLC. That's what my brother used to call me, Big Head. But now it's called Ty Allen Jackson, LLC, a literacy organization that aims to introduce children to the joys of reading. He travels around the country, or nowadays through Zoom, inspiring children and educating adults about the impact of literacy. A 3-time TEDx presenter, Ty believes that literacy is the foundation for the successful life and promotes it with humor and enthusiasm. So everybody, please welcome our guest, Ty in the house. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. My
Thank you for
gosh,
having me.
absolutely. I see one of your characters is behind you. I see you got your books and everything. Can you give us just a little background? I mean, your website is absolutely phenomenal. And I got a chance to see that story about the young man who found a book that looked like him. And now he became an entrepreneur because of your book. So just give us just a little bit about your history and how you decided to get started on this.
So it all started about 13 years ago. My son asked me a question that would change my life, and he said, "Dad, can we open up a lemonade stand?" He made $50 in 3 hours selling lemonade, and he said, "Dad, what am I going to do with all this money?" And I really didn't know. I was actually more prepared for the birds and bees conversation than the dollars and cents conversation. But my mother always taught me when I don't know the answer to a question, I can always find that answer in a book. So I went to my local bookstore to find a book to teach my son about finance and entrepreneurship. And I noticed two things. That one, there were virtually no books about money, and there were so few contemporary books teaching children or just empowering children and speaking in their own voice. And so that's where I right there got the name Danny Dollar just popped into my head. I went home and started writing. It took me a year to write the story. I submitted my manuscript to 147 agents. I was rejected 147 times. I went to my computer. I typed in how do you self-publish. It took me another year and a half to learn how to publish a book. But in 2.5 years after my son asked me this question, this book was born. And it was the most powerful day of my life because it just made me realize that when I put my heart and soul into anything, there's nothing that I can't do. And up to this point, I've sold over 60,000 copies of this book, over 100,000 copies of all my books put together. My book, Danny Dollar, has been turned into a serial story in numerous newspapers across the country. It's become a theatrical performance with over 40 performances here in Western Massachusetts. And it's the foundation of Danny Dollar Academy, which is a financial literacy program that is now being backed by the Federal Reserve. And we actually implemented Danny Dollar Academy to students at the LeBron James School in Akron, Ohio last year.
Wow,
So all these things just take place, from the power of an 8-year-old kid asking me a question and seeing the importance and the power of empowering our kids about financial literacy. So I couldn't be more proud. This is my purpose. This is why I'm here, and I'm thrilled and incredibly fortunate to be able to do it.
So when you found out about after you collected the money, what did you say after you figured it all out and decided to go the financial literacy route? What did you tell him? So if another parent is listening and a child asks them the exact same question, what would you tell them to say to them?
Well, I think, first of all, I explained to my son that money is a tool. Money is neither good nor bad. It's not the root of all evil, and it's not the savior of your life. It's a tool, and that tool is contingent upon the user. I can give somebody $100,000 and he do something amazing with it, or another person can do something horrible with it. So that the money isn't the power. You are the power, and you're able to use this tool as you see fit. But I also think that there has to be balance in financial literacy. It's learning how to spend wisely. It's knowing how and where to save. It's knowing how to donate, and certainly how to invest, because that's something that is not introduced to many families, and especially not many Black families, is the importance of investing our money and making our money work for us. So I think that's one of the first questions one of the first things I say to my child is that, the misconceptions of what we usually do with money, you take your money and you get your stimmy check and you go and you blow it on whatever. That's not how you make your life better. Like the best way to do that is figuring out how to utilize this tool to create more money and to work for us.
Do you so in an era now where people are hyper capitalists and they're vicious in their means, how do you go about teaching your child how to be a humane capitalist, someone with compassion with regards to how they use their money? Or is that something that you even talk about the humanitarian side of capitalism?
Well, I definitely explain to my son, and I explain to children in general, it is a lot easier for you to be able to do good work when you have more money. Money, again, is a tool. So we have to stop stigmatizing money and making it seem like this evil thing. Bringing a more humanitarian aspect to money really is more making a more humanitarian aspect about our children. The more empathetic and the kind that we build them, then they'll be able to take the tools, whether it's their money, whether it's their time, whether it's their resources, and be able to give that human capital out into the world. Again, money's just the tool. And certainly the more money that you have, the more that you're able to use that tool to do greater work. But I think the greater emphasis has to be on building strong, empathetic, and intelligent children.
I like it. I like it. I have do you have a follow-up, Abdul?
Yeah, just a small follow. I meant specifically more to the fact that we're in a visual Instagram social media era where people are holding up bricks of money phones, and the luxury items are the ones that are being promoted. And even in commercials, they got the money guns, people shooting out the money guns. Like, how do you teach your kids that the proper usage of flamboyancy and all the other stuff, or do you even get into that in your books and in your talking to your child?
Well, I in my books, I deal with money in a much more practical, structural way. It is about how to earn it, save it, and spend it. And certainly by providing them with a role model like Danny Dollar. And a lot of it is about role modelship. It is, our children are going to, what did Kanye say? I'm paraphrasing. He's like, if they don't follow you, they're going to follow me. So it's really about providing role modelship to our kids and showing them that like, you know, my kids know that that's television. Like that's not the real world. If they're going to be successful in that world, showing bags of flashes, things of money and shooting money in the air, that's not a realistic aspect of life. And the fact that they have me as a role model shows them that, like, this is the way that you do it. So it really is up to us, the parents, the guardians, to be able to showcase to our kids. You know, it's the same way that when our children hear, you know, a rap lyric that may be, you know, not favorable. Like, that's not saying that's not the real world. That's just not your world. That's just not the world and the space that you're going to live in. And I think it's also important to show history. You know, these kids that are out here with their guns and their drugs and stuff like that, there's no 401k for that. There's no insurance policy for that. There's no retirement plan for that. So showing kids a different way, a different path. You can be a millionaire. You can be more of a millionaire. My emphasis for kids is not to be LeBron James. My emphasis for kids is to be the person that signs the checks for LeBron James. That's it's about establishing wealth, not about being rich. It is about establishing wealth, because wealth is about an infrastructure. Wealth is about dynamics and positions and policies and procedures put in place to acquire wealth. And I think when we introduce kids to that, yes, you can be richer than LeBron James. Yes, you can be the person that pays LeBron James. And that's why my character, his goal is not to be a basketball player. His goal is to own the NBA, own a basketball team. And that sets a completely different narrative for kids. Every kid wants to be a basketball player, but none of them dream about being the owner. So, like, showing them the narrative that you could be the owner of the team, it changes the mindset of our children wholeheartedly.
Shoot, I feel like that you need to teach some adults how to do that, because a lot of adults don't even know anything about, you know, 401ks and that type of stuff. Can you share with us about the kid that you met that was Sydney, who had the opportunity to read your book, became an entrepreneur himself, started a whole book club, started, you know, Oprah got involved and Steve Harvey. So just talk to us about how that whole thing came about and how you were inspiration to him.
It really only happened about 4 or 5 years ago, where his mom took him to a bookstore in St. Louis, Missouri. Out of the thousands of books on the shelves, he saw this book. He grabbed it, sat on the floor, and just loved it. And his mother did a Facebook Live of him reading this book. And that Facebook Live went viral. And a friend of mine sent me the video and said, "Did you see this?" And after seeing it, I reached out to the mom and said, "My name is Ty. I'm the author of the book that he was reading. And I just wanted to let you know how honored I am that, you know, you showcased him reading and that he had such a good time with this book." He said he loves this book so much, he wants to share it with the world. So he wants to start a book club to, like, show kids, you know, like that there are kids that look like him that have these goals and aspirations. And I said, well, if you do that, I'll donate a copy to every book in the book club. To every child in the book club. So about 12 kids joined the book club. I donated 12 copies. I video chatted with them afterwards. And then and they said they want to make this book club grow. So the next time there were 20 books. So I sent them one of my other books and just built a really amazing relationship with him. But this book club started to grow. Well, that got the attention of the local news. That local news got the attention of NBC Nightly News. That got the attention of Steve Harvey. That got the attention of Oprah Winfrey. That eventually got the attention of Marvel. And then Marvel reached out to him under the premise that they're creating this program on Marvel Plus, or Disney Plus rather, called the Marvel Heroes Project, about 20 young people who are literally superheroes because they are changing the world. And they reached out to me after hearing Sydney's story and said, "You're such a catalyst for this story. We want you to be a part of it." So they flew me down, Marvel flew me down to St. Louis to have me meet him for the first time. And now Sydney is, this like world figure. His book club is now global. He's got, thousands of kids around the world who are part of this book club. And all along the way, he's brought me along with him and used my book as kind of the stake in the ground to find his own purpose. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be a small part of his success.
I love it. Go ahead.
Yeah, like a Patty Pie moment where just one viral moment shot your book through the roof. Did you have, so prior to the book going viral and with this, did you receive any pushback because of the content or because of the characters from schools or libraries or anybody? Was there any sort of thing that happened to you with regards to? Okay.
No, quite the opposite. Because the book really does very fundamentally express to children and adults alike. Because like Krista, I'm sorry, I was gonna say your name wrong. Christy, sorry. Said, like, a lot of adults don't know the basic fundamentals of what's a stock, what's a bond, what's debt, what's interest. So this book really explains in very simplistic language exactly what those things are. So quite the opposite. I mean, I've sold over 65,000 copies. I've not gotten one bad review of there's no downside to promoting the importance of financial literacy, especially since, one, it's very rarely talked about in the home. Two, it's not a curriculum at all in schools. And so, like, introducing children to the concept of money in a very practical and fundamental way, it only makes sense.
So do you plan on taking this and making it animated, Nickelodeon, Disney, any of that stuff? Or is that your trajectory? Is that where you're trying to go?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. Well, first of all, I've had such success with this book that Workman Publishing, which is a very large publishing company, reached out to me and asked me to write a spinoff of the book. It's called Danny Dollars, Make Your Own Money, How to Earn It, Save It, Spend It, and Dream Big. That book will be out in September. Really excited about that. But I'm also in discussions with an actual Disney producer and director. And there it is, Make Your Own Money. Wow, well, you guys are good. Y'all don't play around. So I'm actually in discussions in getting this book submitted to as many outlets as we can. And we're talking Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus, Disney itself, Cartoon Network. And so that to me, that's inevitable. This book has taken on a life of its own. There's really nothing else like it that provides role modelship for our children to be able to utilize the most fundamental thing, and that's just financial literacy. Most of our kids will never have to grow up knowing who was the 16th president of the United States, but they're all going to know how to manage their checkbook. They're all going to have to know what debt and interest plays in as a part of their life. So to be able to have a book and a role model that talks to them in their own language about how to utilize this amazing tool that impacts all of our lives, it really not only makes sense, it's necessary. It's a necessary component to the betterment of our children.
I just want to say Tangerine tried to call me out and say that I did the bio late. But I want her to know that the reason why I did that was that we could jump into hot topics right away so that, y'all stay entertained right off the top. So if I got y'all hooked and Ty, gave all of his information, then y'all would want to stay later and listen to what he had to say. And as you can see, he has dropped some knowledge up in this piece right now. So
you did say at the top that he was an author and a motivational speaker. So You gave a little. You gave a hint. So
yes. And Steve, just so you know, sometimes when people look at my name, they don't say Christy. They'll end up saying something like Crystal, or they're like, how do you pronounce that? And I'm like, oh, it's just Christy. So I think that's what kind of was going on in his brain. He was moving so fast. So just want to make sure he did that. No, I mean, all this stuff is so amazing. It's incredible to watch something that was just this one little seed turn into this amazing experience for all of these kids that are probably around the world, I would imagine, and thousands of kids, and how it has influenced, people like Sydney and other kids who have started their own thing. And I also wonder, like, I would love to see in the next couple of years, if you haven't already, these kids who have been influenced in how you might have changed their life and how they're saving money, or they started their business, or whatever the case may be. I mean, how rewarding is that?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate that every day I get a letter or an email or some type of notification in my social media that, a child has read this book and is going and opening up a lemonade stand, or, is donating some of this money to charity, or, just doing something empowering and giving them a sense of vision and purpose for their childhood. And I'm excited that the 6, 8, and 10-year-old kids today who are reading this book will grow up to be the politicians and the change makers that we need. And they may in turn say, it was this book, Danny Dollar, about this young boy who had the visions of becoming a millionaire when he was an adult, that taught me about finance and entrepreneurship, that kind of put me on this path to show me that there is another path, that, it's not just about becoming a hip hop star or becoming a fashion icon or what, and not to dismiss those things. We need all of those things, but we need to expose our children to as many avenues of success as possible, especially those that they haven't been privy to. The world of investment has not been open to us. So to be able to have a character that opens up that world and says, wait a minute, I can become a millionaire by like sitting behind a desk and making and using my mind instead of using my body. And I just think it's really important to be able to have that narrative.
Does your son have any aspirations of becoming an author himself, or does he want to be in financial services or something in that
not
field?
His path. He's a head chef in a restaurant and is completely self-taught. He didn't even go to culinary school, and right now he has virtually his own kitchen. So he's 21 now. He's one of the most amazing human beings I've ever known. That he has zero interest becoming an author or being interested in the world of finance, although he does invest on his own, and he's really good at it, actually much better than I am, to be perfectly honest. But he definitely has the bug of finance, but he doesn't want to make the world of finance or authorship his purpose. He loves to cook. He is amazing at it, and I am fortunate to be the beneficiary of his cooking. So, but thank you for asking that.
No
I
problem.
love it. So what's next for you?
That's a great question. The book that is shown is the publishing company is really doing a great push on it. It's called Danny Dollar's Make Your Own Money. And so there are some big things I probably can't necessarily say, but I'm going to say that they are pretty big. I will say something that's really big that just happened is that my work as a literary advocate, because financial literacy is just one of the things I promote. I actually promote the importance of illiteracy, especially with my 3 TED Talks. And I just received an honorary doctorate by a school in my community. And being able to have that label. Now, this is a guy who came from the Bronx in the inner city, who's never been to college, to be able to receive an honorary doctorate. Like I said, when I gave my speech, when I received it, this was a dream I didn't even know that I could have. And so being a kid from the Bronx without a college education and to be able to have this level of achievement, it is now my purpose to go out and talk to our kids, our young kids of color, our young disenfranchised kids, and tell them that you can create your own path in your own way. I've sold over 100,000 copies of my books, but they're probably only in about 10 bookstores around the country. I grind and I hustle and I build connections and work along with organizations like the Federal Reserve to get these books into the hands of kids. And it's because of that I've been able to be a success in a very untraditional way, in a very cemented culture, which is the world of literature. You think getting your books on a bookshelf in Barnes and Nobles is what every author wants. That's not necessarily what I want. That's not what works for me, because our kids don't go into Barnes and Nobles. I'm going to meet them where they are. I'm going to get the books in their hands where they are, right on the street. And that's the path that I've gone on. So it's my obligation to speak to our children and put them on their own path, so that they can be the next architects, so that they can be the next pioneers in whatever field that they is, but achieve it in their own way.
Yeah.
What part of the Bronx?
From Eastchester Projects in the Bronx. Let me find out, bro. Where you from?
No, I'm from Jersey. My family's from Brooklyn, but I spent a lot of time in the Bronx, in Soundview and on Jerome Ave.
Yeah.
My cousin taught at that middle school in Crotona, right by. He was right by like 183rd, 189, right by the Bronx Zoo. Like there's that McDonald's. You go right around the corner.
Yeah,
off the block.
I know her very well.
Yeah, my cousin was a king.
So let me ask everybody out there who's watching your opinion. Can a 52-year-old or 45-year-old wear their cap to the side if they, got their New York cap? Can they wear it to the side?
First of all, it's 52.
Are they too old? Are they too old to wear it? Can they wear it to the side? No. Okay. Everybody.
I don't wear baseball. I wear fisherman hats. I wear like the old EPMD fisherman hats. That's all I wear. I don't own any. But yes, they can.
So can you be 52 years old and wear your cap to the side, or is that too old to be wearing it to the side? So I just want to know. That was one of the questions that he had when he was doing his live the other day, and so yeah. No, I think
that's what's up.
Yeah. I'm curious to know. Your shirt that you have, is that yours? That's in like a store that you have, or is that somebody else's shirt that you have, your sweatshirt?
No, this is my shirt from my company. It's actually a program that my brother and I, Eddie Taylor, created. We had a program where we were going into jails talking to incarcerated parents about utilizing books and reading as a tool to empower not just themselves, but their children at home. And we would videotape them reading my picture book when I closed my eyes. And in doing so, after we recorded them, we took the book and the video and we sent it to their child so that they could have their mom or dad reading them a story whenever they wanted. But doing that work in the jail brought attention to us, stating that there are so many things that ail our country that are directly connected to illiteracy, from unemployment to teen pregnancy and drug use and certainly mass incarceration, all directly connected to illiteracy. In other words, read or else. And so we got the idea to put the logo on a T-shirt and on hoodies, and we've been selling like thousands of them. And with every purchase, we send a book of my book Danny Dollar to a child in a Title I school or a homeless shelter. So yeah, it's just one of the many facets, and it's one of the reasons why I've been successful in this field, because I found new and creative ways to kind of revolve around the world of literature. So it's not just about selling books. It's also about talking about the narrative of getting our kids to read, about creating tools that are going to empower not just them, but their classrooms. That's why I have educator guides for all of my books, so that when teachers are reading my books into their classroom, they've got this guide that they can utilize with it in Common Core to help, educate their children in the language that it is that the educators speak. So again, this is just one of the things that you have to do when you're in a field that doesn't welcome you. Like I said, I got rejected 147 times for this book. So, if someone's not going to open a door for me, you create your own door. And so, and it's gotten to the point now where the same organizations that told me no are now knocking on my door, so that now I get the opportunity to say yes.
Preach. I just want to say, all of you guys out there, you guys know I'm an actor, but over the pandemic, I started to learn how to do a different type of voiceover that I had never done before. I took classes, I did everything, And then my teacher started sending me out on auditions. I had 48 auditions, and I kept saying, man, I'm not booking anything. And I thought I was the bomb diggity. I'm an actor, but it took 48 auditions, and then I finally booked it. And I was like, yeah. So being turned down, and obviously as an actor, we get turned down every doggone day. But I just want to send some of this, and we're going to be wrapping it up pretty soon. But as far as the hat, can you put it to the side? A lot of people are saying it is your prerogative. Yes,
there you go.
Can. Some people are like, no. Anthony over there is 62. He wears his to the side. Steve, who obviously could be a youngster, is that if you're over 30, stop trying to look like you a youngster. We'll never get old. 50 is the new 30. Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in. And then how did you research how to self-publish? Monica asks.
So, Google is the most powerful resource in the world. I mean, Google is now a verb. And I literally just went to Google and typed in, how do you publish a book? I will recommend one book that I still use to this day. It's my Bible. It's called Turnkey Publishing by Matthew Chan. And it really gave me great insight, and I still use it to this day on publishing my own work. So Turnkey Publishing by Matthew Chan. That dude needs to owe me a check. Mr. Chan, if you are watching this show, you owe me a couple bucks, bro, because I probably got 1,000 books sold for you.
I love it.
The information is all there. My mother used to say, if you want to get knowledge, you can go to the library for free 99 and take out a book. So the library is the most powerful yet unused resource in the world. If knowledge is power and you get knowledge from books and you can get books for free.
And you better hurry up and do it before they get rid of all the libraries, because everything's online now.
Oh my gosh. Don't say that.
I know. Kelly, thank you for joining us. He's an entrepreneur as well out of Flint, Michigan. Are there any other questions out there? Because we're going to be wrapping it up pretty soon. We're going to get to our BPS person of the week. Again, how can people find you and support you? And how can they maybe donate a book to a kid?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. All of that information can be found at tyallenjackson.com. But you can also get my books on Amazon. I am not anti-Amazon, despite the fact that they take 55% of my retail, but that's it's painful. There's a reason why the CEO is the richest man in the world. But I'm still, despite that, I'm not anti-Amazon. Because of Amazon, my books are sold in places that I couldn't even reach. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. But tyallenjackson.com. You can also find me at Ty Allen Jackson on every social media handle you can think of, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and yes, even TikTok. So
do you have it on? Can they also get it on Kindle and all the digital platforms as well?
The only digital platform you can get it on is iTunes. I don't have it available on Kindle yet, but you can get it on iTunes.
And do you have any plans on doing an audiobook, possibly just for the hearing impaired? Speaking impaired, or
Yeah, that's a great question. All my work is independent, which means everything is coming out of my pocket. And so I've been really strategic about where I'm putting my dollars, but this new book is really going to change the game in a lot of different ways. And it's going to allow me to have the resources to be able to adapt these works into other forms, like an audio book, and also maybe create it and put it in different languages and stuff like that. So those things are not prominent yet, but they will be.
Well, keep me posted, because I have kids that I have young people who are voiceover actors. That's what they do. So,
all right. Well, I know you'll be in touch, because you're obviously stalking me on my page. So, which I ain't mad about, by the way.
Yeah, let me see. But I'm gonna be an incognito because I watched it, through BPS, instead of Christy Ferris. So, yeah.
Well, listen, you too fine to be incognito. So you show yourself, okay, pretty lady.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I do appreciate it.
This suspect, bro. Don't be hating.
I'm not. Man, shoot your shot. Go have at it. I'm not mad at it.
No. We really appreciate you coming on the show. I think it's very important. I worked with a friend of mine who was an author, children's book, and we set up a whole bunch of different readings at different elementary schools. And what we did was we donated a book at each one of the schools that he attended and did a reading for. And because of that, it was at every school that he donated the book, it was the most checked out book at that school after
That's
he
awesome.
went in and did it. And it was just amazing. So congratulations. And then Tangerine said, what, I can't see, what does that say? I like this guy. I like this Thai guy.
I like that. Listen, Tangerine, follow me on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time. But hit me up on Facebook and Twitter and all of the above. Let's stay in touch.
Yeah, and Tangerine, just so you know, she's got like 15 shows. Her and her husband, they have a show on All Black. They have a show that's on oh Lord, Bounce TV. She's got a show called Shoot Your Shot.
Yeah, she got a dating show. About that action.
Shoot Your Shot. Yeah, I mean, the
I'm
chick
good.
is bad.
I'm good.
Yeah, listen. She is off the chain. Her and her husband are absolutely incredible people. So with that being said, we're going to get to our BPS person of the week. So Ty, just so you know, every single week we like to honor somebody in the community that sometimes people know, sometimes people don't know. You know, just like your business, not everybody knows about it, but people will now. But we like to honor people to let people know that, you know, Black people are doing other things other than just, you know, rapping, doing all kind of stuff. Although this person is in the entertainment industry, but the BPS person of the week, which I just choked on my own like air, is Waka Flocka.
Flame.
So, what'd you say?
Waka Flocka Flame.
Oh yeah, Waka Flocka Flame. And how do you pronounce his name, Abdul? Because you know,
I can't see the read, but it's like Julius something.
Yeah. Okay, that's his name.
Jaquan James Malfors.
Thank you. Better known as Waka Flocka Flames, is an Atlanta-based rapper, entrepreneur, and actor who was recently honored for his philanthropic efforts in the community and his work with the nonprofit Daughter of Destiny Outreach. The Daughter of Destiny Outreach is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to help women who have been victims of substance abuse, trauma, and mental illness by providing employment, food, housing, and community. Because of his efforts as a volunteer in helping serve those in need, Waka Flocka Flame was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award in his hometown of Atlanta by former President Donald Trump's administration. After receiving his award, Waka posted it on Instagram. So, for helping those in need and providing shelter to those in their hour of need, Waka Flocka Flames, you are our BPS person of the week. So we wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out because we thought that was pretty awesome. Most of the time we try to honor people who are not in the entertainment, but we thought that was amazing. Any last words, Abdul? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just the great thing about Waka Flocka, I know people may look at him as a particular way, but reading his history, but Waka Flocka is a guy who completely turned his life around 180 degrees. He's an entrepreneur. He's into education. He's into business like Ty Allen Jackson. He talks about financial literacy and generational wealth, and starting off as a guy who was a gang member and getting into fights and shootings. And his songs are about all sorts of antics that people don't need to be doing, for a guy to turn his life around and to be volunteering and helping and those in need, especially women and people in his community. That's like it's a big thing. It may not look like it's a big thing, especially because of who it came from, but it is a pretty big deal for a guy to, it's like you really can be whatever you want to be if you just put your heart and your mind and your abilities into it. He's a guy who really did that.
I love it. Ty, any thoughts?
I think it's so important. Again, role modelship matters. There are millions of kids that follow him, And it's important to know that, you know, you can do both. Yes, you can be a hip hop star and have the lifestyle. And I get it. Like, you know, who doesn't want to have that lifestyle? But you can also be philanthropic with your money. Like I said before, you know, you can do great things with money and be able to utilize your resources to do good in the world. And the fact that he is doing that, I mean, it's only going to inspire our young people to be philanthropic in their own way. So kudos to him and all those like him.
I love it. Well, everybody out there, we are wrapping up our show. Thank you for joining us today, Ty Allen Jackson. We really appreciate you sharing your knowledge, what you're doing to and for these wonderful kids that are out there, how you're inspiring, how you're educating, how you're changing lives, and that you're creating books that look like them. That's inspiration on its own. If you haven't, you're welcome. If you haven't got a chance, just looking at his website is inspirational. Again, that's where I saw the kid that was Sydney, watching him as a little bitty kid, sitting on the ground, picking up that particular book because it looked like him, started reading, and then we see where he is now. So we can all get out there and make a difference. We are going to say goodbye, and we will see you guys next week. Abdul, anything else you got to say before we go? And thank you, Janora, even though I know you were out there handling business. We missed you today.
No, break a leg, Janora. I hope you get what you're looking for. We're going out.
Yeah. She was missed for sure. I was waiting for y'all to be like doing like this, but
go at it again. Yep.
But it didn't happen. So but again, have a good night. We'll see you guys next week. Be safe. Please take care of your mental, your body. There's a lot of trauma that's going on mentally for us. So please make sure you take some time, some self-care, love on yourself, love on your family. And we're out. Good night, everybody.